Alrighty then, happy Monday. No, Tuesday. Happy Tuesday that feels like a Monday. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Josh, and you have tuned in to Dead Men Streaming, or you've landed on this on my YouTube channel. Either way, hey there. Alright, kiddos. A few things right off the bat. First and foremost, if you are catching this on the tube instead of the Twitch, well, you're missing me doing this live. So, but what I can tell you is that we are going to have a chat box up here on the window so that when somebody talks to me, if somebody talks to me, if somebody pops over here in this stream that we're doing, then they see what I'm typing and you don't think that I'm a complete lunatic when I respond to them over voice. So, just so you guys know, that's what this is. Now, so you know what else this is. This is part of a long-running stream so far. I have no idea what episode number I'm on. There, I'm talking about how to start a city in Cities Skylines 2, how to move into profit, and since we are in profit, how we can expand our city in a way that is going to make this a wonderful metropolis, or at the very least, a wonderful city until the point that my video card melts and breaks down. So, with all of that fuzziness said, when we last left with a couple of problems. We have a minor education crisis that I said I was logging off from and then didn't, where we have a capacity issue with our elementary schools. We created this new farmland area that we didn't decorate at all, and it looks barren and weird. And it's also got a whole bunch of schools, or a whole bunch of houses that don't have any education or really anything at all. And it really does look weird. And then finally, I started talking about districts. And on top of all of that, I have been giving a lot of thought to this intersection and how much I genuinely don't like it right there. I don't. And that's nobody's fault except for mine, and I've been considering my options on how to fix it since I talked to you guys last, and unfortunately it's going to take a pretty significant amount of work. But I think when I'm done, we're going to like it a lot more. This also means we're not doing everything that I had planned at the last stream, but I just can't. I can't cope with that. It may be for the best, but I just don't like it. It looks terrible, and I think it's going to create a headache for our future development plans. So let's see what we can do to resolve this. But the very first thing we're going to have to do, I think, is to allow me to teach you guys about the district creation tool. Now, when I popped up last, I showed you guys how to use it. So, like any of the industrial zones, or some buildings that require special areas to work in, you click the tool and then you set what are effectively waypoints, but game calls them nodes, around the area you wish to include. And that's actually going to be a pretty sizable area for us. And this is something I put off until we get ready for some sizable major city expansions, which is honestly what we're gearing up for. So once you select your district, then you can click on the brand new name it has. In this case, it's going to be Bedford Acres right over here. Brings it up in a window. While you guys take a look at that, I'm going to remember to swing over and actually load my chat room on my phone so I can talk to you lovely people. Let me click on that because it looks like I do have a viewer. Hey viewer, whoever you are. Alright. Okay, anyways, now that I've done that so I can see when people talk to me, let's go over what you can do. Once you build a district, the first thing you're going to get the offer to do is to set up special policies that apply only to that district. So right now, if I click on Bedford Acres, which is this area in blue that you see highlighted right there, we have the option to enforce a combustion engine ban. And as you can see, fuel-burning vehicles are forbidden from entering. It's supposed to reduce air pollution, noise pollution, and some traffic. Switch to an energy consumption awareness. Reduces electricity consumption by 5%, which can be helpful if you're having problems with a struggling power grid. Gated community, which will only allow people who live there or work there to enter. This will keep people from traveling through an area if you don't want them to, for whatever reason, if you're trying to manage your traffic. Heavy traffic ban, again, more traffic. Um, doesn't affect highways, but it will keep trucks from running around on your pedestrian or on your smaller roads, which is good usually, but if you zone correctly, you won't really have that problem to start with. Then recycling, this will reduce the amount of resources used in your city, or in the district, excuse me, but it also decreases the amount of free time that your citizens have. And the less free time they have, the less happy they're going to be, so I skip it. Roadside parking fee will charge people for parking on the streets, like the freeloaders they are. However, there are other ways to get people not to park on the streets, like putting plants on the street, and looks prettier, anyways. And finally, speed bumps lowers the chance of accidents, lowers the speed of vehicles, and brings down noise pollution. Kind of good, kind of bad, kind of not, kind of whatever. But here's the real reason that you want to set up districts in your city. Now, let's also back away from this. When we say districts in this game, what I think of is less districts and more individual cities. When I see this now, we have the city of Bedford Acres right next door to the city of Strawberry Downs. While it serves the same purpose, I try to think of them a little bit differently myself. What we're going to do here is we're going to go find our first building we want to assign to this district and only this district, and that's going to be this city school. Select an operating district, selecting Bedford Acres. From now on, as long as this school is targeted to this district, only the students who are able to come to this school will come from this district. So all of the students, all of the people of the right age, I don't know how this game calculates that, who are eligible to go to elementary school will go to school to this school or other schools marked for this district. Basically, this means that if I have a kid in Strawberry Downs, he won't jump into the first available spot available up here. Strawberry Downs will not be able to enter into this district to go to school. Works that way in real life too. Let's go ahead and set these as well, because our goal is to make sure that we only have the appropriate amount of stuff in one particular area. You don't want to have somebody going to school who lives across the other side of the map. They'll spend a lot of time, they'll be unhappy, it'll cause traffic. It focuses your efforts. It looks like we forgot to upgrade that school as well, so let's go ahead and do that. Then we can do the same thing with our high school. Our operating district is going to be up here for that high school, and I think that's all the schools. Did I miss any? I missed that one. Nope. Okay, and then once you set the operating district, you'll see what that is here. And yes, you can select multiple operating districts for your schools. Now, the downside is, now that I've said, hey, only the people in this district can go to these schools, then the kids that are moving into these houses up here, they can't. So let's go ahead and set up a district for them as well. By default, your service buildings will serve the whole city. So it's not something you have to worry about until you're at a point where you want to worry about them. All right, but because we've said, hey, not unless you're living here can you go to school here, we do have to meet the need for that. So we're going to be zoning in some light residential up in this area eventually, but let's go ahead and lay a school out right now just to get that going. And since it's a small area, I know this is going to be a small district, we're going to use one of the smaller elementary schools. And I think it'll fit in. Wow, could not have placed that better if I had tried. And that's a cheap extension. We'll go ahead and fit that in right over here. Right. This one's going to force me to do it on the building itself, not on a path. And unfortunately, I do have a path right behind it. We'll get to that in a second. Same thing with this extension. Well, this gymnasium offers a boost for well-being as well and outdoor recreation, so not bad. Not bad. All right, let's go ahead and put that gymnasium in then. And then we slip on that school extension. Okay. All right, so we've done that. Now we're setting our operating district for Kings Field, and done. And now, going forward, all of the students in these houses and the other houses that we're going to build in this area will come to school here. Then this high school, because it's got a potential of, helps if I hit the right building, because it can handle up to 1,200 students, I'm going to go ahead and say, hey, let's incorporate the high school students of Kings Field here as well. So now when students graduate from the schools here or the schools here, they'll come to this high school. Works out for everybody. Where this is really, really important and useful is for things like crematorium service. Because since these actually go out, leave their building and go to other buildings to do their job, you need to make sure that their trip distances are as small as possible, or else you're going to run into problems where people are going to complain about lack of death care, lack of health care, lack of police coverage, lack of fire coverage. So let's go ahead, find a reasonable spot for this small crematorium. We can slip this in over here behind one of the farms. That strikes me as okay-ish. And go ahead, give it an upgrade. Select its operating district for Kingsfield. Now, when somebody dies in Kingsfield, this crematorium will handle that. Moving on, let's take a look at fire. Same deal. Right now we've got 2 fire stations. I'm going to make sure that I lost it. Where was it? Here it is. I'm going to make sure that our operating districts here, 1 and 2, just to give it some additional coverage. And then I'm going, yeah, it did take. Then I'm going to come down. It looks like we didn't upgrade this building either. Let's give it a garage extension while we've got the money. And the other garage extension. Okay? Just to make sure it's got enough vehicles to cover this area too. It should. It's not a big deal. Let's take a look at our police coverage. Now, police coverage seems like we only have 1 station, and there's some areas in our city that aren't being covered. Now, I know that they aren't being covered down here, but it looks like we've got some light coverage. Nothing in Kingsfield is being covered because that station isn't big enough. So let's take a quick look at how to solve this. Let me go ahead and go with another small police station. And this will stick up over here. I want it to be ideally kind of close to the highway interchange to make sure we get the best coverage possible. So it's going to come up and sit over here next to our rail yard. It's not too odd or out of the way. And let's actually take a look at this particular asset to make sure we get something that fits. I mean, this just looks like the same kind of police station that I have a couple of blocks from my house. It's pretty small, it's pretty functional. Or this slightly larger one. Let me just go for this small little service station style police station. It doesn't look out of the way, especially with the way they've got that HVAC system up on top. We'll plug that in here. I'm not going to worry about setting the operating district. I think it's going to be fine serving everything. Well, no, let me take that back. Let me go ahead and do that. In fact, and if I'm going to do that, the next thing I'm going to do is to go back to our district tool. And then we'll just add an extra node like we do anywhere else. Bring it down to mesh up with the existing node for Bedford. Go ahead, stretch it all the way out to cover all of that extra industry. But I'm going to stop, I think. I have to be careful. Sometimes the nodes can get kind of touchy. Very touchy. There we go. Sometimes the right mouse button is your friend. So it's my intention to have Bedford expand all the way up here anyways. So we'll just go ahead and stretch that up now. But you can only set your districts inside city territory that you own. Look, this is just being too picky, so let's just expand it out over there. Call it a day so we're not spending the whole stream on this. All right, yes. Okay. So we're good. So I'm going to have this police station on second thought. It's actually just going to cover Kingsfield. That'll be fine. Okay, we're good. We'll leave this other police station open to cover everybody and everyone. Same thing, we didn't come back and give it extensions. Let's fill those in now and upgrade this building the rest of the way. Okay, it's good. Now, to solve the crime coverage problem we have down here, I'd like to build one of the larger stations. Unfortunately, they cost pretty significant amounts of money. Upwards of 2 million, 1.2. And we just, while we are doing good on money, we're not doing that good on money. We'll go ahead and save that for when we get ready to make our mega developments down here. Okay, so that's districts in a nutshell. Now, one thing I didn't do was establish a district for our college. I think our college is pretty well off as it stands already. It's still got room for another nearly 6,000 students. We only have 38,000 people in the whole city. Same thing with the university. It's got room for another 14,500. I think we'll be fine. So we're not going to worry about that at the moment. And finally, healthcare, because I am seeing a lot of ambulances and have been for a while. Before we left last time, we went ahead and dropped down an extra modern medical clinic to service this particular area. That should ease up some of that stress. Did we put this down? Looks like we didn't. Go ahead and... Oh, we did. So now it's got two of those. Okay, fine, whatever. All right, it's attached. Not a big deal. No sweat. We're good. So now you have an understanding of how the district tool works. If you have any questions about that, let me know, because we'll be using it a lot. We'll even be doing things like specifying districts for things like the recycling center in the future when we build another one of those and things of that note. So districts are your friend. What's not my friend is this highway. Here's my problem. I'm thirsty and I need a drink. I'm going to let this play for a second because we are going to need some money. I'm just going to have to deal with this, playing this game in the dark. Here's my problem with this. When we approach our highway junction here, highways and roads are two entirely different beasts. When I drop a highway, for example, so excuse me, helps if I actually drop a highway, doesn't it? When I drop a highway, you notice that highways can't be zoned on. And it makes sense. When you're driving down I-77, what do you see? Rocks, hills, trees, at least where I live. There aren't buildings right against the immediate side of I-77. When we get to a building, it's always because we've gone off of an off-ramp, like this. And we've connected to some sort of local road, whether it's arterial or just, you know, a road that exists for the sake of existing to go to a gas station. You're not going straight from highway to mall. You're going from highway to side road to service road to off-ramp of some kind, then another street, then a parking lot. And the same thing holds true in CS2. So when you look at this, here's our weird setup that we started with. We go from heavy 8-lane traffic road to a major highway junction, which we do need to have a junction here, all the way down to two other minor junctions, and then we're back on our 8-lane road. Now, I don't like any of this. I don't like these extra highway junctions. I don't like the way that it terminates down here, and I don't like the need for this. Now, that's not to say that we don't need some sort of expressway that's going to go from point A to point B. We are going to have this whole area, this whole southern tip, be one massive development where we have a cargo port, we have a regular port, we have sprawling downtown, and all of this that's going to be following along this coastline. And as a result, service roads are going to be needed. An expressway is absolutely going to be needed to get our people from this main drag all the way through our entire town, going all the way up, going all the way into the northern shores where we're going to be connected. We've got a couple of things we can do. The first is going to be deleting all of this. Just, we're going to delete all of this. The other thing is that, yes, I do firmly intend to have people come into our city from this western connection, come over, hit our primary interchange, come south, jump off of a couple of secondary interchanges, and then go east for our eastern coastline that'll eventually get made. But it doesn't seem like it's the wisest use of our territory to cut off like this whole middle here. It's been stuck in my craw since I built this. And I want to apologize because honestly, if you're watching this channel, you deserved better than something that was this kind of stupid idea. Now, let's go about fixing it. One option that I am considering is something that would be difficult to make fly in the real world. Not impossible, but difficult. And that is to run a 4-lane, two-way highway down the middle of our 8-lane road. We can actually, honestly do that. We just gotta draw it in. And it'll fit over top of all of our existing roadway and would create, well, almost all of it, and would create a expressway from wherever I park this thing and have it come straight down to allow people who are coming from the north or the south to go to one or the other without congesting the main roads. And I think that's something that may actually be viable. The downside is, when doing that, it may cause interruption in our future planning, and it is going to create a headache for us as we develop in these areas, especially when it comes to adding additional side streets and roads, just because of the way this game is made. The other choice is to just continue our 8 lanes of doom all the way down here. Again, also very viable. 8-lane traffic usually is pretty manageable. All of that said, we are going to have a natural interchange at some point because we do want to connect the highway system going east, going north, and another connection that's going to eventually, if you follow my mouse cursor, come from up around in here all the way down so that we're not sending all of our road traffic right through this intersection. Doing that is going to require buying a lot of tiles, and we don't have to do that right now. We're looking at buying at least $2.5 million worth of tiles just to get a highway extension. That's going to set us back a lot, and I'm not ready to do that yet. We will do that, just not yet. So let's imagine for a minute what our options can be. And I think the first thing that we're going to do is to go ahead and start deleting some of this down here. I know I was really happy to put in this roundabout that we got to work just right, but upon reconsideration, like the rest, I don't know how well it's going to work out for us. So let's go ahead and just get rid of all of this, top and bottom. And I do apologize because this is a lot of work, but I want this to also be a good lesson. Sometimes you will have some really great ideas that work really, really well in your city. And other times, no matter what you do, they just don't function the way that you think that they should. End of the day, I'm not going to sit here and tell you what's right or what's wrong. I'm going to tell you how the game works. I'm going to tell you what I do. I'm going to tell you ways that I have found to best manage your traffic and your income and your city design. And then it's going to be up to you to plan your own city, make it be something that you are proud of. And hey, you should be proud of what you build. So far, we've spent almost 10 hours on this particular project. Sure, I'm doing it for semi nefarious purposes of gaining followers on Twitch to raise money for charity and gaining followers on YouTube to raise money for money. But at the same time, uh, I am doing this to try to give you guys some ideas, and hopefully, we're all having a little bit of fun. So, let's finish getting rid of this mess and all these unnecessary curves here. And honestly, all of this is unnecessary because we don't have anything we're connected to. I am going to slow the game simulation down some so we can continue to earn money, albeit a lot slower. And now let's grab our 8-lane right there and continue it down south. This is going to be a guide road as much as it is going to be anything else. So I'm going to just pave right over top of the rail, pave over top of the highway, and do a whole bunch of stuff that I wouldn't normally do. Did I mention paving? See, I'm from West Virginia. We are apparently against paved roads. Take that for what you will. Okay. All right. Now, that is going to be our major connector going down south into our soon to be had developments. And with that there, hey, guess what? Well, yeah, we don't need this service road right now, and it looks it's in a bad spot. Let's get rid of all of these service road connections, including the ones that are going underground, ones that just didn't mesh up right. Okay. Of course, that also leaves us with this ugly little bit of real estate here, because I guarantee you this highway only exists in Columbus, Ohio. Okay. Yeah, that was a dig at Columbus. Sorry, not sorry. All right. And again, it's good that we just don't have any developments over here, because normally we'd be pausing and running all of this, under cover of darkness or whatever have you. I'm leaving this part here. This SPI stays, because when I do want to bridge over this body of water, I'm not going to want to redo that. It's staying. Okay, now, another drink. It's winter and I'm way too dry. Okie dokie. So, now how do we clean this up? Well, the first thing I suggested was to install a byway that's going to cut all the way down through here. That's going to make the single point interchange even more fun and interesting. Let's take a quick look. Let's actually first finish upgrading the connections to this SPI into 8-lane, because for some reason we didn't get around to doing that. Done. Now, saving the game is the next thing that I'm doing. Oh, I see why I didn't do that. I've got that off angle. Hold on. Saving the game in a moment. Let's fix that. Okay. Little better. All right. Saving the game. Really big pro tip here. If, by any chance, you are getting ready to do a massive city overhaul that you're not entirely sure how effective it is going to be, save your game. Save your game, do it on pause, do whatever you need to do, and if you screw it up, don't hesitate to reload. This is a simulation. Consider this part the simulating of the simulation for your Sims, and just roll with it. Don't be afraid to take a straight up mulligan. Don't be afraid to redo everything. Just save your game, save your game off and hope for the best. And yeah, I know we've still got this highway looking all ugly over here until I buy these tiles. I'm not deleting all that. We'll get to it. I haven't forgotten. All right. Highways. And let's take a look. Now, like I said, I think a 4-lane, 2-lane highway is going to be our best bet. The question is going to be the elevation. The higher up the elevation, the harder it's going to be for your people to get on and off of this. And that's something we're just going to have to keep in mind here. And I'm checking first to see if I bring this down here, can I, in any way, connect it to the top of this single point interchange? And it might, maybe, let me, I don't know. I'm trying to find out right here. I see a red dot. I see an overlapping items. Crap. Please. Please just let me link that to that. Okay, it says it can't. It says that there's something. There is something in the middle. There's a roundabout right there that we installed. If we get rid of that roundabout, oh my. Oh my, it's not going to let me do it a straight 90. But I can live at 89. Okay, now, with the magic of flash photography, can we? No. We cannot put a roundabout on top of the roundabout. I am so sad. I'm checking all the sizes. Sometimes bigger really is better. No. Why must you taunt me this way? Okay, that would have just been too perfect if we could have gotten away with that. We didn't get away with that. This is suicidal, as I'm sure you could imagine. So, much as I want to, let's not. Let's try to be as realistic as we can in a pretend game and make this an actual overpass here. All right, so 10 meters. What will get me across that? 12 will not. 15 will not. 16 will not. 17.5 will. There we go. Okay. 17.5 is what we needed for overpass duty. Now, here's where I said this game gets kind of cantankerous. This node does not connect to that node. It doesn't interfere with it. It doesn't mesh with it. It's not doing anything to it at all. And it's acting like it does. So we'll first try. It's going to see what I mean. Now it's saying that all of these nodes are absolutely intrinsically locked together, and there's nothing here that I can delete. And this is where stuff gets frustrating, unless I delete the whole mess. So, what do we do about this? Also, it's added a weird post there, just making sure that it's not actually interfering with traffic. Okay, it's not. So, what can we do? Well, let's first start by trying to address parts of this. We broke that. That was intentional. That won't work if it's 8 lanes, so we do have to connect with 6 right there. For some reason. Did I say 6, right? Sort of fixed that. Let's try this again. Back to our highway. back at our 17.5 meters. I think that's what I said. Drag that out. And same thing right here. It's giving me the same exact error on this side. And I'm willing to bet, yeah, on that side as well. This is where things get complicated and things get a little bit buggy. We're going to make a couple more attempts at this. And how we're going to make our attempt is to go way away. We're going to go to our next available nodes that are beyond this. Fingers crossed. And look at that, we're good. Now, you can drag highways and the like over other roads, but in all honesty, the 8-lane road makes it easier because it has a natural divider in the center of it. So, we've got this. What are we going to do about this to make this worth anything? Well, let's take a look at our lane math and how people are coming in, where they're coming in from, etc. They could just be coming in straight through, but maybe they want to get on top of that. So I'm going to say the best way for somebody who wants to come to get on top of that is to come up through the sides. Or come down through here, cut up, and then we'll get them up top some way. Shoot, where are they going to go? Oh, this is going to be weird. Looks like we're going to create and once again, it's saying that I can't put a post, I can't junction it here because of that red node right up there. Again, more game weirdness, and I don't really have any method to combat it other than try is pretty much it. In fact, anywhere I connect in that node network on this is saying that that node, that northern node, is not going to let me. And it sort of defeats the purpose of having a highway if we don't have any way to connect up to it. And that was my fear for this project, that I wouldn't be able to get the nodes to work correctly. We're going to give us another couple of minutes, and if it doesn't work, we'll just abandon this thought. Sometimes you can only do how much that the game allows you to do. Okay, let me connect going that direction. Will it let me fix the direction? Okay, hey, we've got an on-ramp going south. Somehow. Make sure that people can't turn left onto that. Okay, one down, one to go. Can we do this? It's really upset about that on-ramp up there. Well, hey, guess what? And it's so upset that it's not going to let me delete any of that. It says it's all linked right there. Even that's linked. got an off ramp, but that's such a bad spot. That's not viable. It's too ugly to be viable. I'm gonna keep trying. This is one of those things where this may not actually be suitable to try to build during the stream, just because of how much time it's going to take and how much time it's going to keep us from doing the other things that we need to do. But I'll try my best here. Okay, we'll reconnect. And there is, of course, one other option, and that's just to sort of replace this with that massive cloverleaf that we had elsewhere. But that would sort of defeat the purpose of not wanting to have the massive cloverleaf we had elsewhere. I really would like to install this skyway / expressway. But we're going to run into the same issue as we get down here for this interchange and get closer to down there as well. So what looks like a good idea on paper doesn't always equate to being a good idea in practice. And I think I'm just going to sort of surrender on this because I've done projects similar to this idea that just, as bad as I tried to make them work, they ultimately really didn't. So let's get this reconnected with that. We're going to come back. Go ahead and delete. And in fact, it looks like we caused some other glitches down here. Take a look at this. I'm going to reload our game, and we're going to start fresh. Before this project began. Now, in Cities Skylines 1, this would be the point where I was like, we'd be like, oh, okay, well, screw it. They don't need cars. They can use a monorail station or some sort of high-speed rail network. We don't have that in Cities Skylines 2. Do not understand why they cut out one of the most important transportation systems, but they did. So, I'm going to do the best with what we have. I'm going to reinstall that roundabout right down there. We're good. Okay, well, we're still leaving this 8-lane road of death leading up through here. And I'm now kind of out of ideas for ways to install a valid byway that won't cause me to, completely plow half a dozen things and parking lots and whatever else. So this 8-lane road is going to be effectively our main byway for this area. And that will be okay. We're going to treat it in a lot of ways like we would a highway system. But we're just going to have to be a little careful about it, I think. So let's go ahead and resolve a couple of other things too. I said I was going to keep this, but now I'm not. Because we're going to move it. One thing about these SPIs, they're very simple to construct, very simple to place, and once you get used to them, they're not hard to manage at all. And again, although I did stress earlier, several episodes ago, that this is not going to be strong enough for a SPI to handle if we're cutting through like this. So we are going to try to use another partial cloverleaf right over here, this time feeding our main corridor. Let me drop that. Let me just go ahead and bulldoze this railway for right now. I was trying not to do that, but I think it's just going to have to go. Let me get rid of this wonky road here because it's no longer being intersected by the highway network. We'll leave that connection right there. That's not unreasonable. We'll break that. Get our 8-lane divided road. Staying at 180 degrees. We're good. Okay. I'm going to need to slip a node breaker right there. Okay. Okay, coming back down, going to our intersections, going to this one. How high up do I want this? Yeah, right about there, actually. Or not. Okay, I give. I'm eyeballing guesstimating this. Forgive me if I get it wrong. Actually, you know what? Right there is perfect. Okay, so back over here to this elevated highway. Killing it, also killing those 2-lane parts of that road right there. We've got our 3-lane. Selecting toggle parallel mode to line these back up, shrinking them together. Going for our continuous tool. Gives it a little natural wobble bobble right there that we can live with. We've still got ample room. We can run our side roads through. The one side road that's not going to connect if we do that, though, is one that I really like the looks of. Let's take another stab at this. That's... what? That's only 2-lane? Huh, I thought that was 4. Oh, that's only 2. Huh. Have that cut across that. This now comes over. Make sure it's got enough elevation to... Nope. We need it to go over, not through that. Oh, I could only imagine the nightmare that would be. Here, let's park literally on the highway intersection. I mean, I can see somebody doing it. They don't stop them from parking on the highways anyways, but still. Also throws us off. Let's try building this in from over here. And we still end up with that unpleasant super bobble right there. Let's... okay, that's a little bit better. And then this poor road doesn't have any idea what it's doing. Let's give it some peace. Let it come up as a service road. And wow, that node looks like it's having a panic attack. Let's help it out a little bit. Okay. Still looks like it's having a panic attack, but a little bit less of one. Alright, now we're going to come over here. We're going to get back to our 8-lane divided road tool. And you can see where this is going to go. 8-lane. 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 Okay. Pretty much Lex Luthor's nightmare. I feel like I'm a character from Naruto. Alright. So, of course, then we've got this. Can you, for one moment, imagine pulling up on this? Now that you've imagined that, I want you to imagine all the words you would call the city planner who is responsible for that. Just go ahead. I'll wait. I'm not going to repeat those words on stream, but I'll wait. Let's make them blue. Let's also fix that so we don't end up with that stair step right there. So this is an easy fix. If you can see when I highlight this road segment of Mulberry Street, that there's this weird node right there. Delete, delete, connect. However, it decided to still leave it stair stepping, so delete, delete, do all the reconnect. Keep those angles straight. This one too. Okay. So that was just a basic 2-lane road. Okay, we are good. This rail will be a future me problem. Let's go to our lowest elevation possible. Yeah, 'cause it's not going to want to go. The only viable solution for this is if we cut under. And we'll have to cut under super quick, super fast, super hard. Well, that sounds like a fun time. It's not going to be a fun time for this time. And honestly, it's likely going to be a lot more complicated than that. Just looking at it, what's likely going to happen is that these lanes are going to be going south, and we'll have a single going over, probably ramping up starting about right here. So pretty much nothing in this area is going to be developable for what I'm thinking. So I'm just going to cordon that off for right now. Okay, that's a future development headache issue that we don't need to deal with right now. Now, set development issues we can deal with. Are dragging this all the way over here, where we'll have to redo this sunken highway too, but we don't have to redo it right now because we're not building in that direction. Let's just finish off that, get our 8-lane highway back, or 8-lane pass back, and done. Now, I really do not know about you guys. I don't know how you think about this, but looking at this is about the point where I'd be, if I had skills at video editing, would be setting up a screen that says, here's before, here's after, and ask you guys which you thought looked better. I would hope that you think this looks a lot... Wow. I would hope that... This never happens to the people I follow on YouTube. Nobody just randomly belches in your ear. So sorry. This is why I don't have followers. Anyways, I would hope, I would think anyways, that if I were living here or investing in this area, that this sort of setup would look a lot better, would be a lot more pleasing to the eye, and be somewhere where I would be more willing to spend my development money, or just moving in, or wanting to live somewhere, or not going onto Facebook to call the person who's developing this every slur you can think of. And don't lie, I've seen my local What's Happening groups. I know if they could get away with it, they would. So when I develop a city, I want to try to make it look as headache-free as possible because I have chronic headaches in my life and I don't want to do that to my poor little sad Sims. However, what I do want to do is finish connecting up those roads. This is bugging me. Future me is probably going to be sooner rather than later me, just for the sake of being able to place things. Now, here's the good news about all of this. One, we've made this much more visually appealing. Two, we've actually made it a little bit easier for some of our future mass transit needs, like dealing with this rail station, dealing with what's probably going to be a expressway tram line running up and down, dealing with bus lines running up and down. We'll have all this extra space. Um, it's even going to help us a little bit out with our eventual highway system when we get ready to make some efforts on fixing this. So let's just cross our fingers for right now and hope that this was not the worst idea that I've ever had. If it comes to it, I will run a secondary highway system over this. And by that I mean I will just take my highway tools and pick a spot down here, and we'll just run an express lane just up and over, running alongside our 8-lane main drag here. Theoretically, I could even do that now. It would be much easier to connect it into this cloverleaf than it would be the other way around. However, if I do that, then we run into this problem. Well, what about this downtown area that you've already begun to develop? I don't want to bulldoze all of these buildings to fit them all in here. I might. I just don't want to. So let's try to avoid that if we possibly can. And then, of course, we run into the same on-off frame problems we had 10 minutes ago. So let's not. All right. Even so, this is perfectly functional to get people into the southern half of the city, which is where eventually they were going, because I don't know about you, but I want to have some strawberry dreams instead of downs. That just doesn't sound right. That's a better. I like that city name. I'd move to a place called Strawberry Dreams, wouldn't you? All right. Speaking of moving, why don't we get started with that? We've got a bunch of untapped potential up here that I want to expand upon, and I think now's as good as time as any. Let's begin with taking a look at what our zoning, honestly, first let's take a look at our education. Did we solve that crisis? No, we didn't. So where would be a good place for an additional school? We're going to have more residential popping up through this area. So let me... And this is the thing that bugs me. It doesn't tell me where my uneducated kids are, because if you look, all of these areas show, hey, we've got great education. Okay, cool. Then why do I have an education crisis? I don't know. I don't know. All right. I'm going to go ahead and slip in one more elementary school down here. This will be near the train line. I don't know how good of an idea it would be to have an elementary school next to a train yard. I don't know how that would compare to someplace in like Chicago or New York City. But I think for our purposes, it'll look okay if we scooch it in right over here near the university. You know, sort of like a, I want to say like a daycare of sorts, but let me take a look at some of our other options. This one can pack in at base 1,500. This one only 12. The rest of these are much less. And from what I've heard on the interwebs, all the UK schools are kind of bugged at the moment. The other option would be a French elementary school, which does look really cool. It packs in, what, how much? Only 1,000. The Denmark school packs in a bit more than that. This actually wouldn't be the worst thing to have closer to the university if we can fit it in. In fact, not only would 1 not be a bad thing, 2 would be great, and it would kind of mesh in with the rest of the campus. The only problem is it wouldn't do anything for any students over here if this is where our problem area is, and I truthfully don't actually know. So let's go ahead and slide one in right over here, because we've already got parking, we've already got roadside development. What I might do is go for 2. to try to really work on our educational issue here. And wow, that is not even remotely lined up to anything, is it? Excuse me. Excuse me for the hiccups. Let me pause and let me take a look. What's going wrong here? We're going to delete that road because it looks like it's not coming in at a 90-degree angle or anything even remotely close to it. What's wrong with that? Yeah, we are using our moving tool. This is going to cost us some extra money. That should be lined up perfectly, and yet it is not. Is this not lined up perfectly at a 90? Or is that just an issue with that road? I'm sensing it's an issue with the road. Huh. Well, I have destroyed cars and bulldozed landscaping for nothing. Cool. Angled parking alley. And that's not 90. How did I put a road here that isn't 90 degrees when I'm following a grid? I need somebody to explain this to me. Well, we've really messed up. How much is it to move this thing? Twice. 19, still cheaper than the actual school. Okay, that's 90. That's at 180. This isn't, though. Yeah, and that 1 degree of difference does make all the difference in the world when you are trying to plot up your layouts. So make sure that when you're doing these, you are focusing on your keeping everything as straight as you possibly can. Now let's... I'm sensing why, though. It's because of all of this bridging and underpassing, which is fine. It's something that we can work around. We can just do that. It's not going to be the greatest, but it's going to serve our needs. So let's... For the purposes of our intersection, now let's see if that lines up a little bit better. It's going to line up worse. Cool. Let's take off snap to road. Let's insert this manually. And heaven help me, I'm going to shove it into this corner. I'm really just wasting money here, but this is something that would unreasonably annoy me for the rest of the entire time we do this series. Okay, you can't tell me that that doesn't look 1,000 times better. Also probably has a few of you concerned for my health. Okay. All right. Little bobble right there, I'll live. Little bobbles right there and there, I'll live. We can't put in anything here now. I am going to see about upgrading this road, though, at least on one side. Can't without breaking that line. Can by breaking the line. Okay, we're going to make sure the game is paused so we don't ruin everything. Go back to our train. Get back to ground level. I know this had to have been at least 6.5. Okay, so we did eminent domain, at least one building. That's okay, but we did expand this to 4-lane, which is going to be good because we do now have two elementary schools here. Let's get speed going back on. Let's expand these. Both of them can take a gym extension, which is going to give plus 20 to outdoor recreation for the immediate area. And then we'll go ahead and maximize these out. And then, don't forget, you set our operating districts to, again, work here for Bedford. Okay, good, done. Let's take a look at that 2-lane road up there. Is that a 2-lane? Yep, just a standard basic. Oh, excuse me, 4-lane. Standard basic 4-lane on that one, nothing special. Grab it, drag it, add to it. There we go. Bring it all the way down there. We are having some weird zoning clipping. Not a ton I can do about that. There is a little bit of off space right there. Let's go for one of our smaller parks. Specifically, let's get our tiny city park. We can fit one right there. And then back for our canopy covered pocket park. Or, no, let's not. Let's drop in a handful of, see, none of the sports parks will fit, except for the outdoor gym. An outdoor gym, and then we can stick in a little bit of parking over here on this side as well. That's going to be either a tiny parking lot or modest is too long, canopy cover too long, small parking lot, no. Just run an alley back through there. And I'm going to go overboard on parks over here. Just because the game is being super duper weird. Just to kind of line that out. And then our detailing tool. Yeah, detailing tool. I was thinking about dragging stuff around, but I think I'm just going to go with a line of spruces. It really is being weird here. Okay, line tool is not going to be my friend, so we'll use the not line tool. Well, if it's not letting me set a spruce, it's not going to let me set any others. So we'll just do bushes. There we go. I think that's realistic. That's enough. That's good. Okay. So we got a couple of nice looking Dutch elementary schools right here. We've got some rail tracks on that side. This is going to hinder our development a little bit because we don't want to have houses going right up against that. We'll basically be coming through shortly and filling that in with trees. Right here, this wall is going to make it harder to run anything. A roadway through. We're going to have to pause, delete, replace. Pause. And since I just broke that line connection, you can see the train station's having a fit. It's like, dude, you up. Come on, come fix it. And we will. And this is why we paused. And now it thinks that that curve is too tight. Let's try to readjust it. Ooh. Okay. Couple of tweaks. We're good. We fixed. Got a back road running up through there. That's so much better. What about down here? Road under the rails, done. Road running parallel to the rails, done. We are not even, though. May have to accept the fact that we're not even. Oh, and we're not even because the road we're building from is not even. That's the other problem. We made all those tweaks and those slight little angle adjustments. But hey, you know what? That is the real world too. Most streets, most intersections, most towns are not built off of 90-degree angles. I like them that way because I'm weird and vaguely obsessive over things like this, but your mileage is going to vary. Okay, so we've got that filled in. What goes behind a train station, you might ask? Well, since we've just made it certain that we can't zone right there because we had to go underneath all of these train tracks further than we absolutely have to. Let's repause again and redo this. That's a 6-lane. Give that a weird bump there for no necessary reason. There we go. Now, can we zone on that side? We can. But, okay, again, what realistically goes right behind a train station? If you're in a super dense urban environment, then anything you can shove in over there. If you are in an area where you've got space to develop, a little bit more. As a reminder, these things do produce pollution. In this case, it's producing noise pollution all the way through here. In fact, so do these schools. So do some of these commercial buildings. These farms produce noise pollution. So does this high school. Everywhere there's noise pollution, your residents actually will get sick. It will cause them to be ill. They will have lower happiness, a lower quality of life, the whole 9 yards. The deeper the red on this, the more noise pollution it generates. It doesn't, and I guess it does make sense to me. An industrial farm is going to make noise. I dislike the way chickens make noise. Some noise is going to happen in your city, no matter where you live. You know it will. Oh, hey there, Ryoko. But the objective is to keep it as minimal as possible. And the focus is that you don't want to just park a bunch of low rent housing right up next to a train station. Regardless of how realistic that may be, I still try to avoid it myself. But what can fit right behind here? Pretty easy to have some commercial buildings, I would think. So some low density commercial. And through this area, fill it in with offices in the back around this rail. And these aren't the office buildings that I want and that I've been looking forward to building, but they're the office buildings we are going to work with. Hey, not too much. We just completely got done redoing the entire highway system that we built a while back, so we're happy about that. How are you doing? Last I heard you were playing Fallout. Okay. And right now we're doing some basic level development here, protecting our zones. Ooh, I know exactly what I want to put on the back of this. The wasteland is poppin'. Well, cool. So for those of you who don't know, Ryoko extensively plays Fallout 76. Unfortunately, she plays on an Xbox, so we can't play together because in their infinite wisdom, Bethesda has decided that we will never have cross-platform play. I don't know why. I don't like it. I'm sure they have a reason. Notice I didn't say good, but reason. Ugh, excuse me. Okay, so we've got some basic zoning going in here, starting up. Let's see. I believe unbalanced PvP would be the reason if anybody PvP'd anymore, but they don't PvP anymore on Fallout 76, so I disagree with your hypothesis. I'm sure that's the reason that they gave, but I think it's a bad reason. Alright, so we've got a load of elementary, we've got immediate access to mass transit. Oh, I've still got this broken road. Have to fix this. Oh good, I didn't have to redo that highway segment. Oh bad, I have to redo this road segment. There we go. And I haven't forgotten about this. I live next to multiple railway crossings. They scare the crap out of me every single day. The instant we get ready to develop south of this, we'll be fixing this because one, it slows everything down, and two, yeah, it just doesn't do it for me. Okay. I have this as an alleyway. That's not going to be enough for the road traffic that I'm anticipating. I'm going to turn this into a 3-lane asymmetric road here, which is going to look a little weird, but I do have a reason for it. Okay. I don't actually like asymmetric roads when I'm building. I certainly don't like them when I'm driving on them. But there are times and places where they really work out for the best. And with the structure that's going to be popping up right in there, I think you're going to find it's going to be our best solution. And doing that changed the zoning node right there for reasons that are beyond me, so preemptively blow up that building. All right, let me go ahead and get started over here, and I'll show you what I'm going to mean. French style offices using the French DLC to... I don't have to lie to make friends. What did I lie about? Oh, I said I wasn't going to lie. That was it. All right. The downside is we have no office demand right now, and laying out those French-style offices is... Oh, shoot. I'm torn. Okay, so we're going to have to ignore that for a moment. But right now, we'll come over here, and we'll go ahead and get in some medium-density housing. This area should support that fairly well. And we'll focus on putting those there, there, another block right over here. I'm also going to go ahead and put in some low rent housing. In fact, I'm going to fill that in with low rent because there's a pretty sizable demand for that. And again, love it or hate it, it wouldn't be that uncommon to see some project style housing directly behind a rail station. That's just how people have developed things, and it's tacky, it's terrible, but it is a fact, unfortunately, of modern life. Okay, so we've got all this developing. Let's speed up the simulation to really give this a chance to expand, and we've got a surprisingly new, bustling downtown area. Let's flip in some sports parks for the students we have over here. Maybe a skate park. A skate park near a railway bridge. I think that actually sounds pretty cool. Okay, skate park there, and a basketball court. Somewhere over here. Now it's saying what it's the only demand we have at the moment is really for low density residential, which is not going to fit in right here. You're not going to walk into a midtown section and suddenly see single style houses. Is realistically not going to happen. All right, but this did. This is what I was waiting on. Well, that's not the only thing I was waiting on. I really need that to develop. That developed. At least it partially developed. I'm just going to wait this out for a second. I need this square, this particular square right here, to start to develop. Until it does, I'm sort of stalled. Now, we had talked a while back about welfare offices and citizen service centers. We could get away with having one in this general area. I think that would be good for everybody involved. And in this case, we're going to use the Citizen Service Center from the Modern Architecture Pack rather than, say, the Welfare Office or the Japanese Health and Welfare. I think something like that will fit in. Again, this is close to a major transportation hub, so it'll mesh pretty well. And our next one is all the way up over here. So let me just go ahead, slip this in. It's either right there or it's right over here. I feel like it would be a little bit better off if it was lined up with that roadway network, that fire station, and the rest right there. Now that looks pretty good. It's all but begging for a small pedestrian street right beside it. So let's go ahead and take care of it. And let's go ahead and take care of these crosswalks. We don't need them. Certainly don't need stoplights. And this is one thing we will have to keep an eye on. We don't want to have unnecessary stops coming into our 8-lane if we're going to be using it as our main artery leading all the way through the city. But this will go a long way to helping out the people in the neighborhood and making their lives a little bit better. Okay, we finally have that developed. So now I want to get my one-way alley. I'm about to create a traffic nightmare. Oh, one-way alley won't work. It's going to have to be a regular alley. Oh, that's just rude of it. Okay, parking. I'm going to come down. I want this overground parking structure. I'm going to do my dead level best to make this fit. Looks like we need to delete that. I'm going to try not to delete that building I keep overlapping, but I'm making no promises. Looks like we're going to have to take off snapping except for 90-degree snapping to get this node exactly where I want it. And it looks like it blew it up anyways. All right, I tried. I did my best. The hope, though, so we can sneak in this parking garage right here, right behind all of these buildings so that our people can have a place to park in the middle of downtown, and it's not going to be, or Midtown, and it's not really going to distract away from anything else. So once these commercial buildings zone back in, we should be good to go. There's a little bit of land right there that's not being used. Let's drop a few trees. Use our line tool some more. Cut down our distance to make sure we can fit in. We are golden as locks. I have no idea what that was supposed to mean. Okay. All right, just one little bit of development left to go over here. And we'll fill it in the rest of the way with small office buildings. Actually, we're going to fill that in with a high-density commercial. Okay, still have some zoning over here that hasn't filled in. I'm going to do mixed use right here. And there we go. Now what we have here is, by design, a cramped, slightly uncomfortable, but livable neighborhood for our citizens to want to come into. This isn't somewhere where you're going to want to spend the rest of your life, but it's somewhere that's next to a transportation hub, a major park hub, and a highway intersection. It's the kind of place you'd expect to see a small traffic jam and some, heavy-duty parking and some other stuff. So, but with two schools right here, this is a great place to fill these needs. And it's going to be a good space for us to get some extra bodies moving in, and with bodies, an increase in our hourly trend. Even just using medium density here, we've just added $10,000 an hour as people are moving into our city. So we're going to take that as a victory. But if you look up here, we've got the same thing. We've got plenty of places to build in some more neighborhood material. The only snag is we're still, once we move past this side of the train tracks, we're back in our lighter residential areas. So this is going to be row homes up through here. And, okay, looks like we use 2-lane, 4-lane, perpendicular parking, if I'm looking at this correctly. Keep our roads the same. Yep. No, we didn't. We did not. Did we? Is that 1 lane? What is that? Why is that like that? I don't honestly know. I don't know what road type that is. Well, I made a decision at some point. It looks like 1 lane. Let's get our geometry snap back on. Yep, that's what it was. Okay. All right, fixed. Okay. I don't think that really needs to connect anywhere else than what it is. So just sort of going to leave that as it is right now. And then, okay, what style buildings are these? These are small office. Go ahead and fill it in with more of the same. Now, this would be a good spot either for more additional commercial or for office. Again, it's also next to a bus station, so we're still in our area of high traffic for foot traffic for mass transit. If I were a business, I would be very excited about the idea of being in a spot that is right between two major transportation hubs. So let's take a quick look at some of our business assets for our unlockables. And we've got one that's not really going to fit in, but it's probably the closest thing we can get. And as a bonus, this particular building will give us +1 office efficiency, +1 attractiveness, and +5 well-being within the next 1.5 kilometers. So I would say something like that, if I were an office, wouldn't necessarily be opposed to being plopped in somewhere right around in there. Now, our German-style department building would be a nice addition over here, but I didn't like the idea of putting it in earlier. I don't like the idea of putting it in now. We could, however, get away with a pub down the street from pretty much everything involved over here. In fact, oh, that's going to fit perfectly right over here. Yeah. There we go. One pub, direct with a whole bunch of street parking, down the street from a major bus station, up the street from a major train station. Yeah, we're good. Okay. Now, as far as these remaining buildings go, though, let's take a look at our mixed use and our row housing. I'm thinking that row housing right there wouldn't be the most inappropriate thing, but for purposes of zoning, let's make sure it's all lined up correctly on this particular street. And that street too. And then right over here beside that new office complex we put down, we'll go ahead and go back to using fixed use. But since it is French architecture, we'll fill this in with French style mixed use. There is one downside, and this is something that I really hope that the devs work on sooner rather than later. When it comes to using the new asset packs, they don't count for your unlockables, which drives me insane. Let me show you what I mean by that once we get this pathway installed. Okay. And bulldoze a few of these. Well, you know what? I'm going to leave these unbulldozed, and we're going to let them just sort of filter in naturally to provide some, different looks, different style. Really quick, taking a look under our signature buildings, and I'm going to make sure we have both European and North American unchecked. So European style, we have built so many low-density business buildings, but none of them have counted. We have built a lot of low-density North American business buildings to take advantage of these unlocks, but none of the ones in the Japanese set have counted. We get them, we build them, we're benefiting from the tax revenue, but it doesn't count towards our city's unlockables, which is just infuriating, and it's really silly. I hope it's something that the devs will undo or redo, because for some of them, they just said, well, hey, we're not even going to bother making you do that. We're just going to give them to you right off, which is great. But the ones that are still behind an achievement wall, not so awesome, not so helpful. At least that's how I feel about it. I don't know if you would feel the same. Okay, and we're just going to put in more medium density North American row housing right through this area. Oh, and speaking of signature buildings, just unlocked another one. And I'm going to mix that up with a bit of mixed use as we creep around our northern highway, heading through our downtown area. Looks like our death care is starting to get a little overwhelmed down here, so let's fix that with... Unfortunately, we're just going to slip in a crematorium. I do not want to stick it right next to a school. It will go behind the health and welfare office, though, just downtown. And as a perk, though, for this location, it is, again, right on our major busy highway. So that's going to give our... Well, this is both a perk and a curse, because now when people want to get into this lane, they may get stopped by a hearse, as it were. On the other hand, this is the best spot for it because it's going to allow our hearses to come straight up. Once more, selecting operating district to have it focus on right in this area. Okay, well, I hate to do this, but it is 8:20. The last thing I had to drink was a protein shake about 4 hours ago. I'm a little bit hungry, and I could keep going all night. So let's do a city recap. What did we get done today? Well, we reassessed our highway situation and determined that having A massive highway junction here, while likely helpful, was probably overkill, and even if it wasn't, it's a pretty big eyesore. And it really was going to detract in the future from when we started developing our southern coast, which will, Lord willing, be next episode. Then, fixing that, we did make an effort to do a overpass of sorts running all the way through here, but then I got to show you how buggy some of the nodes can be and with what they will and what they won't tolerate. In addition, we worked on our education problem and built in a number of new schools throughout the town. Right now you're starting to see the strain on our healthcare system because we haven't built some of the more advanced healthcare buildings. Not a whole lot we can do about that right this moment, but we are going to be working on that pretty soon. Finally, on top of that, you saw me build in our brand new neighborhood down in this area, and in just a moment, we're about to hit our next level. Let me see what I can do to sort of nudge that along. Let's see, we've got a bus station right up there. So I'm thinking maybe a transit point here wouldn't be the worst idea ever. Although it feels like it's overkill with a large bus station just right up there, but that's okay. We'll set a small bus route that runs from here to up here and back. We'll revisit this bus route later to make this a little better for the community. In fact, we'll actually have it stop at that transit station too. That's really overkill, but at least it's something and it will help with our city layout. Let's also give this a boost for extra platforms to get our milestone 12 unlocked. Congratulations, we're now a large city. Set up our EV recharging. And what is this and why is it not letting me? Station services will not fit here. Are you kidding me? Let's make them fit. Let's delete mandatory road connection. We still have to align it to road, but this takes off the snapping to the roadside. And then station services right there. There we go. Fixes that. Don't have to adjust the bus route. Does it automatically. Okay. I will, however, add bus stop shelter there and there on both sides. Then I'm going to take the line. Oh, I have to go into line tool. My bad. Insert bus waypoints right there to give it a bus stop. Really, it's fairly pointless with that and that right there. I mean, it's not even a block. In fact, it's so pointless that I'm not going to do that upon reconsidering. What I will do, though, is move this down a block. That seems a little more reasonable. Yeah. Yeah, that seems a little bit more reasonable. Okay. All right. Then on that note, ladies and gentlemen, thank you all so very much for tuning in tonight. Do hope you had fun. Do hope you enjoyed yourselves. Gamers, mayors, city planners, and people who are just interested in hearing me talk. Hey, please don't forget to give me a like, a follow, a subscribe, whatever it is you have to do on whichever service you happen to be watching me on, whether it's YouTube, whether it's Twitch, whether it's you stumbled across this off of my website. Whatever you did, however you got here, thank you so much. And be sure to follow me across the multitude of social media platforms because I basically live on it. For the one-stop shop, all things Josh, head over to my website at sagadmw.com. For my Facebook, for where I do all of my author stuff and haven't yet admitted to being a video game streamer, head over to my Facebook page at facebook.com/sagadmw. Finally, if you're watching this on Twitch and want to check out my channel over on YouTube, which has past broadcasts and some stuff that didn't make it to Twitch, hop over right there, that YouTube channel right over there for more Joshua Karen Smith. All right, now then, with all of that said, whatever you do, however you do, wherever you do it safe, do it with a smile, and do it in a way to make the world a little bit of a better place. Have a good night, and I'll see you on the next stream.